As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Monday Mornings with Crunch Time Sports. I'm your host, Jeff Iafrate. We are back on a Monday morning. It's Victory Monday. All right, the Lions have another victory. They're 5-1. All right. Or 4-1, excuse me. 4-1, leading the NFC North at the top, or at least competing for the top of the NFC. How are we feeling? How are we feeling today? I'll break down the game. I'll give my thoughts on a variety of things that transpired from the game. I have stuff that came out now after the game that is more relevant on a Monday morning. So we'll get to talk about all that. I'll give my thoughts on some players that need to be highlighted, maybe some players that need to be talked about in other ways as well. But again, appreciate you all for tuning in. I see the chat already going. Purple Prince is already coming at me about Manu. Don't worry. We'll get to Manu. Michael. I see Michael in there. Michael, what's going on, my friend? I see Cooper in there. What's going on, Coop? All right. We got a lot to get to today. Motor City street scene. What's going on, my brother? Yeah, I mean, what a game yesterday. And there are takeaways from that game. I know it's the Bengals, and you can easily write it off as, yeah, they beat the Bengals, and the Bengals aren't very good, and they take care of business. But there's a lot of things that happened from that game. D-Ray, what's going on, my friend? I see you as well. I want to play Dan Campbell's post-game locker room speech, victory speech. It's always the best. It's the best way to start your Monday morning. So I'm going to play it in a couple of minutes. But you went into that game with no Taylor Decker. You went into that game, obviously, with no DJ Reed because he's hurt. And they were missing some other players. But in terms of significant players, those were the guys you were without. Khalif Raymond out of the game early on with, I believe, a neck injury, which, excuse me, I don't know how severe that is. I don't know. I don't have an update on that, but I know it was a neck injury. He was ruled out for the game. Terrion Arnold was ruled out at some point of the game with his shoulder injury that he actually injured last week. So you didn't get him for the rest of the game. And don't worry, we'll get to Terrion Arnold as well. But they went in there without their left tackle. You had Giovanni Manu starting. And, I thought Gio, overall, I didn't say there was I wouldn't say he had one of the greatest games. I wouldn't say it was terrible. I thought he did some really good things in the run game. I know we're going to point out, I think there was 2 sacks he allowed. If I'm remembering correctly, I know there was one for sure that he allowed. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. He didn't look great, but he didn't look terrible. So, again, is it enough for me to say that he's the future at left tackle? No, it's not. I'm not going to sit here and act blind to it. But you got to understand from Gio's perspective and what the Lions asked him to do is basically start at left tackle against Trey Hendrickson, which, I think's good. You throw him in the deep end, see if he can swim, but that is a tough task. And they did help him. They chipped Trey a lot. They put extra tight ends on Gio's side. The running backs helped out, but the one sack that he gave up, Demont, not blaming it on Demont, but Demont needed to help him out a little bit, at least give him a chip. I mean, he was one-on-one with Trey Hendrickson, and I'm not going to sit here and act like Giovanni Manu. That's a matchup you're confident in. So, it was a difficult task for him. Obviously, Trey got the best of him at times, but that's Trey Hendrickson, man. That's a guy who's had 17 sacks in multiple years. So he's a beast, an absolute beast. But I thought overall the offense, although you didn't have Taylor Decker, I mean, they still scored 30 points. You know what I mean? They still scored 30 points, even if it was in short field positions from turnovers. That's still complimentary football that we talk about a lot, and the Lions do very well. They get takeaways, and the offense scores on those takeaways, and they did that. They had 3 interceptions on Jake Browning, 3 and a safety. Should have been 2 safeties if it wasn't for a terrible, terrible, terrible penalty on Terrion Arnold that reversed Aiden Hutchinson's second sack of the game. He should have had 3, but one of them was his fault. The second one was TA's fault. So really, I would say 2. He ended the game with 1 sack, but Aiden could have had a couple more sacks, man. He's on a heater right now. Josh says, when is Decker coming back? Well, Josh, I think this is how I think the Lions handled it, right? You're looking ahead. You have 2 games, tough games, one on the road. You have Kansas City. You go to Kansas City. and then you come back home to face Tampa Bay, and then you have the bye week. So if I'm Dan Campbell, this is how I think he's looking at it. If this shoulder injury is bothering Taylor, let's give him a week off. He'll get a 2-game stretch, tough games, and then he has the bye week. So it's smart how they handled it. Let's be real. It's the NFL. Any given Sunday, yada, yada, yada. It's the Bengals, okay? It's a favorable matchup compared to the next 2 games. So if you're going to rest him, you probably are going to rest him against the Bengals. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. So, which I know it's Trey, but still, like overall, they were going to beat the Bengals no matter what. And even though the Bengals scored in garbage time, I don't really care. I never felt like this game was out of control. It reminded me of when the Lions and the Browns were playing, and the Lions were up like 1 score on the Browns. I never sat there and thought the Browns were a threat to win the game. And that's kind of how I felt in this game too. Like, yeah, Jamar Chase beat Amik on a nice double move, and it was a blown coverage. I'm not going to sit here and act like, even throughout the game, I'm like, okay, they got a touchdown. It is what it is. But the Lions were in control of that game. You know, they scored 37 points. In the offense, like, we can bring up some parts of the offense. I mean, Jared Goff, 19 of 23, 258 and 3 TDs. I mean, like, Jared Goff, dude, is incredible. And actually, Jeremy put something out that I do want to show you guys, which just shows how well Jared's playing. And I just don't think we're giving him enough credit. Even though we give him a lot of credit, I think we need to give him more credit. I do. And this is what he's been doing this season. So Jeremy Reisman put this out of Pride of Detroit. Check this tweet out. This is incredible what he's doing, man. Let's see. All right, you see Jared Goff right here. Jared Goff through 5 weeks. 5 weeks. 120.7 passer rating. All right, second in the NFL. 75.2 completion percentage first. 81.7 QBR second. 12 passing touchdowns first. 8.2 yards per attempt seventh. Think about that. He's balling. He's balling. And what we have to keep in mind, 2 things that are significant when it comes to affecting a quarterback. One of them, new play caller, which I don't care if it's a similar offense or not. People were already writing Jared off nationally that he can't survive without Ben Johnson. And I love Ben Johnson, but I never sat here and said Jared would fall off a cliff. That's ridiculous. He's actually been excellent with a new play caller and a new offensive line, basically. I mean, 2 new interior guys. One of them, Christian, I would call him a rookie, essentially. And then Tate Ratledge, who actually is a rookie. And then Graham Glasgow, who, let's be honest, did not have a great game yesterday. And he's not Frank Ragnow, so you're going to have moments like that. And they had no left tackle. Think about the offensive line they walked out on Sunday with. Giovanni Madu, Chris Mahogany, which is like his 5th game. Tate Ratledge, or 6th game maybe. Tate Ratledge's only played in 5 games in his career. Graham, who's a veteran, but he's not excellent. And then Panay, who's an absolute specimen. So he's obviously incredible. But look what Jared's doing, man. He's playing extremely well. He's spreading the ball around. He's making all the right reads. He's playing excellent. Honestly, he really is. And Houdat says, I thought Jared would fall off without Frank. That's what people keep saying. And Purple Prince, Johnny Mo's show has been nice. He really has. Johnny Mo's been excellent. Excellent. And I've already stated, I overreacted to week 1, clearly. All right. And what I saw in week 1 did not tell the full story of the season. Like, I was just reacting to what I saw against the Packers, and it was ugly. But guess what? Ever since then, they corrected everything, and they've been excellent. And I'm willing to say that. Like, yeah, he's bounced back. He's been excellent, Johnny Mo. So I hope all the people that were complaining that he's in the booth, Lukas Klotz, can get over it. Because he's in the booth, and he's cooking up there. He really is. He really is. Purple Prince says, but Jeff, he's not mobile. Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say about him, man. And he's you could see like the juxtaposition of what the Bengals are going through. They don't have Joe Burrow. You see the quarterback play they're dealing with. And I know it's like extreme because it's Jake Browning. But look at all these other teams that are suffering with quarterback play. Just look around the league, man. Quarterbacks are struggling. And you have Jared Goff, just cool as a cucumber, playing well, consistent, balling. And I think people have to really appreciate what the Lions have in Jared Goff, because he is Mr. Consistent. He's Mr. Consistent. He's cool, calm, collected. And I know he didn't have a great game against the Commanders, but guess what? The sample size you do have with Jared Goff is pretty impressive. Okay. He's been playing extremely, extremely well. And honestly, the surprising part to me is how well he's playing. He's still not high on MVP odds. Like, they just don't think the dude's good enough to be MVP, but he's good enough to basically either lead or be second in a lot of these categories among quarterbacks. So I got nothing but great things to say about Jared Goff, man. Nothing but great things. And the weapons they have are obviously incredible, but they weren't able to run the ball early as well as maybe you initially thought. I know Jahmyr Gibbs was incredible, but Demont didn't really get going to the second half, and Demont, he ended up responding. Demont led the team in carries, which tells me they knew what kind of game it was for David Montgomery. He was returning to Cincinnati. That's where he grew up. His family was in attendance. He had friends in attendance. You know, I think it was the first game he's ever played in his hometown. First game he's ever played in Cincinnati, back in Cincinnati. And he played well. He threw for a passing touchdown. He's 1 for 1, 100% completion percentage. 1 for 1 passing touchdown. He was 18 carries for 65 yards and a TD, which, by the way, I will give credit to Giovanni Manu here on that touchdown run. He did a really good job. And that's, I think, where Gio he's farther along is his run blocking. He's a really good run blocker. He's just massive. He's a people mover. I just think in pass protection, he's not completely there yet. And you see that. He's big. It's hard for him. He's working on leverage. His feet maybe aren't the quickest, but that's stuff that you're hoping he develops. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's the answer either. But on that touchdown run by David Montgomery, Giovanni Manu, I did rewatch it. He was a big part of it. So if you guys can go watch that film, you would be impressed. But overall, yeah, I think there's still a question mark at who's taking over for Taylor Decker, obviously. We've talked about it on the show enough. Like, the Lions should be focusing on looking at tackles in this next draft, no doubt. Giovanni Manu has not proven that they should just turn a blind eye to tackle. I'm not going that far. And I like Gio, but come on. Realistically, no. That's not how it should go. Brown Coat, he says MVP is a popularity contest. You are right, by the way, because there's teams that are like 3-2 that have MVP odds, guys with MVP odds that are higher. Patrick Mahomes is higher. What? What are we doing? What are we doing, man? G-Man, with Allen losing last night, Lamar out, puts him in top 3 now for MVP. Let's see how the season plays out. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, G-Man, because it kind of ties into the point I make every time we do this show. And the point I make is, like, we have to start giving credit. I know it's boring. And, you beat the Bengals, right? Like, the Bengals aren't great. And I think Zach Taylor should be fired. I think the Bengals are a dumpster fire right now. It's really bad. But we need to give credit even when you beat bad teams. I think a lot of people, maybe they're pessimistic. I think that's what it is. But when you look at that win, and if you're the type of person that says, well, they beat the Bengals, who cares? To me, that's not fair, because if they barely beat these teams, if they barely beat the Browns or barely beat the Bengals, we would be crapping all over the Lions. So it's time we actually say, hey, they're taking care of bad teams. And you see teams like the Bills, who are favorites to win the Super Bowl, and they just lost to the New England Patriots. Like, they just lost to the New England Patriots, which the Patriots aren't bad, but they aren't great. Like, they're better than the Bengals, but that's a tough loss. So the Lions are at least taking care of opponents, and I give a lot of credit to Dan, because they don't overlook these type of opponents. They never do. They prepare for these guys like they would anyone else. And you might make business decisions like, let's sit Taylor Decker because it's the Bengals, but it's not like they're not taking them seriously. I think Jared Goff's the one who said it. We don't look at records. We watch the film. And they do. They do. They took care of, even though it's Joe Flacco and the Browns, look what they did to them. And this defense is balling. Kelvin Sheppard has been absolutely incredible. He really has. And these players, how you look at, this is how you could tell if you have a good defensive coordinator. You look at what he's doing for the players. Are guys having better seasons with the defensive coordinator you currently have? Let's think about that. Is he making players better? Is he putting players in positions to be successful? That's how we evaluate Ben Johnson. He did that. That's how we evaluate Johnny Morton. He does that. He's obviously putting guys in great positions. They're playing really well. Kelvin Sheppard is doing that on the defensive side of the ball. Guys are having better years. They're playing better under Kelvin Sheppard. That's how you evaluate a good DC. He's making guys better. AQM, all due respect. he's having a career year with Kelvin Sheppard. That should tell you how good of a coach he actually is. Look at what you're getting out of Tyleik Williams. I mean, he's looking better and better and better every single game. He's a rookie, but it shows that, you know, that's the type of impact he's having. Like Tyleik had a pass deflection. He's doing it again. You know, you look at some of the linebackers, which that was his former position he coached. Linebackers are all thriving right now. I mean, they're all playing at a high level. The front seven's playing at a high level. Derek Barnes, he has 2 sacks on the year. He's playing really well. Which, by the way, like Derek Barnes, he's on pace to have a career year in sacks for sure. I mean, let me see. He has 2 sacks in 5 games. He had a sack against Baltimore, sack against Cincinnati. He's averaging like 6-7 tackles a game. He's doing his job. He's doing it really well. And Anzalone last night had a pick, which you got to give him credit. Anzalone's always been solid, but he's playing really well this year. Jack Campbell obviously playing really well this year. So the linebackers are playing really well. You look at some of the secondary players. Brian and Kirby are who they are, so I get that. They're always going to be pretty good players. I mean, Kirby had another interception. TA's been a little, up and down. I know he made some plays yesterday, but then there was other times where, he was giving up time. It was bad penalties. Just, it was tough for sure. I wouldn't say he had a terrible game, but it's not enough to say that this guy's obviously the future. But he's impacting players in a positive light. He for sure is. And Aiden, I would say Aiden's just an absolute beast no matter what. But Calvin's having a really positive impact on these guys. And what he's doing well that I think is just separating him from Aaron Glenn personally, and I've already stated this, is his ability to make in-game adjustments on the fly. The thing about Aaron Glenn, and I think Aaron Glenn's a good defensive coach, but he's a little more stubborn. Kelvin, I think is a little more adaptable. And you're seeing that. You're seeing, especially against the Browns, like the Browns, the first drive, move down the field and score. After that, done. He made adjustments. They scored 3 points the rest of the game. And I think against the Bengals, they scored 21 in the fourth quarter. So, Lions were kind of sleeping on defense a little bit. But man, Kelvin, like this, the importance of having a coordinator that can do this chess, can make chess moves in game. It's like these coordinators playing chess against each other. Kelvin thrives in that. He does really well on the fly, like understanding how a game flow, understanding what he needs to do to adjust in a game. He does that. And I think that's the former player. That's the former linebacker. That's someone who's seen a lot of football. Obviously, he's been under Aaron Glenn. He's seen a lot of football here. But even for a younger DC, like he's got a lot of positive traits that not only give me confidence he could be a head coach for sure and get interviews, but he's going to be a very good defensive coordinator. And this defense is playing extremely well. Takeaways, man. That's what they're doing. They're leading the league in takeaways. Like in the run defense, like Jake Browning led the team in rushing. He led the team in rushing. So he did a really good job on that front as well. So Kelvin Sheppard, excellent hire by Dan Campbell. And, he's a younger guy. And there's a lot of coaches that are a little more hesitant on taking chances on younger coaches or guys that might be inexperienced. Dan Campbell is willing to take that risk, and look at how much it's paying off. Believing in who you have in house, believing in people, giving people, he's inspiring people. That's what he does. And Kelvin is an excellent hire. He has full belief in Kelvin, and Kelvin's showing that. Like, he can handle this, and he's doing an excellent job. So, and Aaron Glenn, he's having a tough time over there in New York, which, everyone kind of knew that job was going to stink. But Aaron Glenn, you could tell he's struggling over there. And I don't want to discredit anything he did in Detroit, because Kelvin, I think we can all agree, has the most talent that AG ever had right now, especially a healthy roster. But I would even admit, like, I think Kelvin ceiling can be a better defensive coordinator than Aaron Glenn was, for sure. He's displayed that. And this is the real test now, because you look over the next couple of weeks, like even next week, you got Andy Reid. Like, he's going to have his hands full. At some point, you're going to have the Eagles. You're going to have the Bucks. You're going to have the Commanders. You're going to have the Rams. You're going to have the Packers again. And you're going to find out a lot more about this team and about this defense because of the quarterbacks you're going to face, the offensive minds you're going to face. It's going to be obviously much more challenging. So plenty more football to play, but just for the start of the year, I have to give credit to Kelvin Sheppard. He's done an excellent job. He really has. Let me show this. This is the post-game locker room speech from Dan Campbell. So let's take a listen to this. My favorite part of the Lions winning is hearing what Dan Campbell has to say. So let's take a listen.
How many takeaways we have on defense? A lot. And a safety. And sudden change stop, man. That's big time defense, guys. That's the way to go. Get the defense a hand. And we had a crunch that we almost got too, Jack. Well, yeah, I am so excited you are. I love it. I'm not going to go another week 2 and feel bad about a win. I'm not doing it. I'm not freaking doing it, man. That's a good win. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. We got things to clean up, and we will clean them up, guys. We're going to get better. We will clean them up. That's right. That's 4 in a row. 4-1. All right? And we're still going. We're still going. We don't stay the same. We're going to just continue to get better and better. I got 2 game balls. All right, on offense, 5 catches, 92 yards, 1 touchdown, blocked his ass off, Sam Laporta.
The thing that I love about this team is just everybody's so selfless. You know, everybody, they put themselves second and the team first. That's what the best part is. So, love you guys.
All right, this guy, to me, he was all over the field. He was all over the field. 3 total tackles, 1 TFL, 3 pass defense, and 1 interception. Alex Andrew.
Hey, 24-hour rule. Enjoy it. Wins are hard to come by. Love y'all. Keep going, man.
Okay, it's win number 4. Great job. Break it out, guys.
Never, ever, ever take a win for granted. I know there's plays we want back. Offense, defense, all of it. Never, ever in this league take a win for granted. 4-1. On to the next. Nice prime time opportunity for us. Let's go and get another one. 1 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Where?
I mean, Anzo, I'm happy for Anzo too, man. Anzo, he obviously didn't get the contract he wanted, but Anzo had a great game. He had the interception, like you said, a couple pass breakups. It's incredible. It really is. He's I mean, they need him, obviously. The future is the future. I don't know if they can afford to extend him, but what you do have is a very good linebacker. And although he doesn't have the green dot anymore, he was all over the field. He really was. And Sam Laporta deserved a game ball. Sam, it's nice to see him have the game he had. I know he's been relatively quiet, and it's not because of Sam Laporta. I just don't think they've been involving him as much, but man, they involved him a lot more, and he showed it. He's one of the best tight ends. There's just so many weapons on this team that it's hard, for Sam to just consistently do what he did yesterday because there's only one football and they got to get everyone involved. But Sam is he's something else, man. He does the dirty work and he doesn't complain, but when it's his opportunity and they make sure he gets the ball, he does it. Eric, what's going on, my friend? He says, "What's up, Jeff? At the end of every locker room video, do you notice how Panay always is at the end being silly of every video?" Yeah, Panay he's special, dude. He really is. He's another guy, I think, kind of like Jared Goff, where he just is at a level right now where we praise Panay, but he's so stable and so consistent that it's like people don't give him enough praise because he's just there and he makes plays. And offensive linemen don't have stats or anything you can reference. Like Aiden Hutchinson, you can reference sacks. Panay, there's nothing to really reference, but when you watch the film and you watch the game, you see how often they run to Panay's side. Like he is so good. And I think Brad every day for extending him as early as he did, because if he would have waited, I mean, he could easily be a $35-40 million player. Like he is so good. So good. And you're paying him what you're paying him. You got him for a steal. Like definitely. And to be honest, I did share, Eric, my thoughts on Manu. I thought Manu, listen, there was times where I thought he looked solid in the run game. I thought his run blocking is something that is already farther along. The run that Dave Montgomery had to score a touchdown, I thought Manu showed some things on that run. He's out in space. He's a bulldozer. But then there's times in pass protection where he's just not completely there yet. He's not the quickest on his feet laterally. It's tough for him. He's so big. Leverage is sometimes a problem. But I thought he showed some things that you can say, you know what? I liked it. But if I'm being honest with you, if you ask me, Jeff, is he the answer? No, he's not the answer. And I haven't seen enough to say that. The Lions still need to look at tackle. Like they still do. You still need to think about the future after Taylor Decker. Because let's be real with ourselves here. Like Taylor Decker is a top 15 tackle in the NFL. He's solid. You know, the guy's one-on-one with some of the best defensive ends, and he held his own. Like Myles Garrett, he was one-on-one with Myles Garrett. He gets asked to do some tough things. But the reality is, man, he's at a point in his career where injuries are popping up. He's not getting any younger. And he's not bad, but they just have to think of life after Taylor Decker. They just have to think of that. Because I don't think it's going to come sooner than later, in my opinion. You know, I just think Decker's going to get to a point where, kind of like where Frank got to. It's like the injuries stack up, and he's just like, you know what? Especially, let's say they win a Super Bowl. Like, I can see Decker being like, yeah, I'm out. And they just have to think about that. That's all. Especially for a team that is so, you know, they're built around their offensive line. I just don't think Giovanni Manu has done enough to secure that spot. No, he has not. So, but without Taylor Decker, though, to do what they did offensively was impressive. And Jared Goff was sacked more times in this game than he was all year. I think he was sacked. Well, let me check. I actually double checked that. No, sacked the same amount of times as the Packers game. He was sacked 4 times against the Packers. He was sacked 4 times against the Bengals yesterday. He obviously played much better. The offense played much better, but they allowed 4 sacks. In the last 3 games, they haven't allowed a sack. The Bears, the Ravens, and the Browns, they didn't allow a sack. There was pressure against the Browns, but he didn't get sacked. He got sacked 4 times, and a couple of those are pretty rough. So, you know, I think the offensive line being without Taylor, you can kind of tell. Like, they didn't play well overall. Like, Graham didn't have his best day. There was times where Tate Ratledge was, you know, making mistakes, but they held it together as much as they could. And the Bengals had a very, very direct game plan. They told themselves, we're going to stack the box. We don't want the Lions to be able to run the ball effectively, which they were able to when it was all said and done. But you could tell early on, it was like, we are going to make it tough on this O-line to run block, to try and double team people. Like, they're going to be very aggressive, and they were. And that's why Jared was able to get more in the passing game, but they were really trying to shut down the run. And that's what a lot of teams are going to do when facing the Lions. And it's difficult because it's like pick your poison. It's okay, you want to try and shut down the run, you want to stack the box. Well, they have all these weapons on the perimeter that can make plays. And if you want to focus and get more DBs on the field, well, we're just going to move you out of the way and run all over you. So this Lions offense is already hard enough to match up with. But you could tell the Bengals were making it a priority to try and stop the run, or at least slow it down. And it just didn't matter, man. Like, they just get whatever they want. And it's hard when you have a guy like Jared Goff who's playing at the level he's playing at. Like, he's just dissecting defenses constantly. Blade says, did Hendrickson travel back to Detroit with us? Yeah, right. I mean, that's another thing people asked me last week is, Jeff, you know, should the Lions trade for Trey Hendrickson? I mean, would it be nice? Yeah. And that move, if you were to make a trade like that, that signals to the fan base we're all in. You know, we're winning a Super Bowl. Not that they're thinking we're not winning a Super Bowl, but that's the type of move you make where he's a rental. You're saying we're going in. We're going all in. That's Les Snead-esque right there. And I don't think the Lions will do that. I don't think that's Brad's DNA. But certainly no one would be upset if Trey Hendrickson was in a Lions uniform. That's for sure. Chad Fisher, what happened to J-Mo in our offense? Well, J-Mo yesterday had 1 catch for 9 yards. But here's the thing. He was only targeted 1 time. So I think it comes down to this. I know people are going to probably overreact and say, well, he's coming off him and Jared just didn't have a great performance connecting against the Browns. And then he has 1 catch for 9 yards. I don't think it's anything with J-Mo, guys. I just think the game plan, you know, they went to who they went to. You know, they went to the open guy, and Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is always open. But Sam Laporta was just making plays yesterday. He kind of took a lot of those catches that Jameson Williams has been having. I mean, Sam Laporta has been taking a back seat. You got to think about that too. So it was his day. It was his day to play well. He had a 39-yard reception, or a 39-yard, that was his longest catch, or at least yards after catch, accumulated to 39 yards. But Sam Laporta was targeted 6 times. Amon-Ra St. Brown was targeted 9 times. And everyone else was targeted 2, 3 times. One time for Jameson, 1 time for Montgomery. Like, Brock Wright was the 3rd highest targeted player. He had 3 targets. Like, it just, the game plan just didn't involve J-Mo a lot. And that's okay. J-Mo was blocking his ass off. Like Blade just said, there's a couple plays. That play where Sam got like 10 extra yards and he should have. Amon-Ra and J-Mo were both blocking on that play. So the positive thing with J-Mo is even when he's not involved, he's still out there and he's making plays. I know Ben Johnson brought that up with the the Bears. And he was like, we need to have conversations with players to make sure that they know, what are you doing when you don't have the football? Where do you think he gets that from? The Lions do that at an impressive level. When guys don't have the football, they're making plays. They're not just as long as I have the foot, as long as I'm getting targeted or I have the football, I'm making plays. No, they make plays even when they don't have the football. Like they're blocking their ass off. And that's what Jameson Williams did, even though he didn't have a big game. He had one catch, but he was still involved in a lot of other ways. So you got to give him credit on that front too, for at least not just quitting or, pouting. So give credit to J-Mo for that. Eric says, Ahmed Dad told Doc that he is feeling fast. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Mr. Hassanin. Yeah, they're going to get some guys back here in a couple of weeks. And this is what I believe here. I want to have this TA conversation. All right. Because I'm waiting till I'm going to watch after this, actually, before the show tonight. I want to go back and watch more Terrion Arnold because I don't think he had the worst game. I just thought the penalties were poorly timed, but he did re-aggravate the shoulder injury. But let's talk about what he did in coverage. All right. So let's break this down for a second. All right. Because I know Terrion Arnold, people are going to say, well, TA, and immediately think he was bad. But before TA went down, Terrion Arnold only allowed 3 receptions on 6 targets for 28 yards. 3 receptions on 6 targets for 28 yards. And a 63.2 passer rating. Now, he had 2 pass breakups. He could have had an interception that Kirby Joseph ended up catching. But here's the thing, all right? The penalties. It was the Lions just shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. It didn't end up mattering. And Kirby Joseph said this to Mike Payton from A to Z Sports. Kirby said, shout out to T. I feel like he played a great game. I know he had a little injury, but we're going to bounce back. He also said, my bad, bro. I seen the ball. You know how I get. Because he took TA's pick. And TA let him have it. But the injury obviously was unfortunate. But he didn't play terrible. And that's the thing. When I went back and I watched a little bit. Again, I'm going to watch more today for the show. Just to make sure I go watch him. The all 22. But he wasn't terrible in coverage. He really wasn't. He was fine. It was just the penalties. And he obviously got injured again. So I thought TA, it's something. This is what I believe. If I'm Kelvin Sheppard, I'm asking TA, man, listen, all right, you're showing some flashes. You're obviously, these penalties, you got to cut out because these penalties are getting a little too much. Especially, it's not just him. Brian had the one he took a Aiden Hutchinson sack away. So it's not just TA. It's really the defense. The penalties are a little too much sometimes, especially the poorly timed penalties. But if I'm Calvin, I'm telling TA, listen, you're going to compete with Amik Robertson. That's how it's going to go. When DJ Reed gets back, you're compete with him. Your spot isn't a given. See, okay, DJ Reed is obviously getting that cornerback 1 spot. He deserves it, and he's incredible. But that cornerback 2 spot, you and Amik Robertson are going to compete for it. Best man wins. Like, that's how we're doing it. Because I'll tell you one thing. Amik gave up a touchdown, and people are going to bring that up. But Amik was really good, too. He was really good, too. And I think he shows his instincts better, and he shows more when he plays outside. That's very clear. So I think the best thing for TA is competition. And I think Amik Robertson is the perfect guy to compete. Because Amik is hungry. He's the underdog. And he's a good guy to throw at TA and be like, listen, you two are going to compete. Because let's be real here. All right? They don't use a nickel as much as they did with Aaron Glenn. They don't. They play a lot of base defense. And when they do have a nickel in the game, they can put Brian at nickel. You could put, whoever at nickel, Amik or Maddox or whoever you want to do at nickel. But for Amik to get on the field and play a lot, he has to play outside corner. And Terrion Arnold's obviously got that spot, but I don't think it should be given to him. So I think moving forward, hopefully this injury for TA is not too bad and he gets back relatively quick. I know it sucks. He re-aggravated the same injury, but he's got to compete now with Amik Robertson. That's just how it goes. All right. And I think Amik has earned the right to compete. I think he's in a contract year too. So I don't think it's fair to just be like, hey, Amik, you're going to play nickel and you'll play sometimes. He's too good for that. So, he's good enough. Make him compete with Terrion Arnold. Those two should be competing to play outside corner. And if he beats TA out and TA's got to earn his spot back at some point, then he has to do that. But I thought TA overall yesterday, he was fine in coverage. I thought the penalties were just poorly timed. It really was. And it didn't help that he got injured too. And I get Michael says, let's be honest, those penalties were extremely soft. Yeah, like the TA penalty he had, it was like, it's questionable, but let's be real here, man. It still penalties. Sucks. And I agree with you, Michael. I thought the one, I think he had a pass interference penalty that it just didn't look like there was much there. But it's how the NFL goes. Someday they're not all going to be called the same. So you just have to, I guess, be the best you can and you deal with it. But yeah, the referees are going to make some calls like that. I didn't think TA deserved that pass interference, but it is what it is. Phil says TA just has to learn to cover his hands from the refs. Yeah, I mean, even Browncoat, the Enzo penalty was super soft. Yeah, that was another bad one too, man. Yeah, again, penalties. I'm not arguing listen, penalties were soft, but that's how it goes. Peter Manning says TA covers better than Amik outside of guarding JJ. Yeah, listen, I will say this. Like, I haven't seen Amik enough consistently at outside corner to say that. We've only seen him, really, if you think about it. Last year, we saw a sample size of him at outside corner, and then this year we saw him in this game at outside corner. But we don't have a big sample size with him playing outside. And you got to think from Amik's perspective, he's playing nickel, and then he gets thrown at outside corner, and now he's playing outside corner. I want to see Amik at outside corner for a stretch of games, really see and get a bigger sample size. Because TA actually, like I said, he's not like a – I hate when people try and bring up like Jeff Okudah because he's not – Jeff Okudah was consistently lost in coverage. He couldn't cover anything. TA is not that. It's just more about – the inconsistency or the penalties that pop up with him. When he's on, and he plays really well. So I want to see those two compete personally, and may the best man win. You got this week, you got Kansas City, prime time. That's going to be great. Opportunity if Terrion Arnold's out for Amik to show another performance. And you got to think too, he played for the Raiders, who was in that division, the Chiefs. And guess what? I know Rashee Rice. I don't think he's going to be back. I don't think he's going to be back. I don't know the exact timeline. But if you remember, one of the videos I watched when Amik first got to Detroit was his film guarding Rashee Rice. Go watch that film. Incredible. I'm telling you, man. Like, Amik ain't no pushover on the outside corner either. That film guarding Rashee Rice when he was with the Raiders is really impressive. He did a really good job. So he's familiar with this Chiefs team. That's for certain. That's for certain. Michael says, are we on a narrative kick as a whole since he had issues with penalties? I agree he needs to clean it up a bit, but look what happened when he left the game. Yeah, I mean, listen, penalties are going to happen. I don't want to nitpick and say every single penalty he gets, it's like, oh, here we go again. But it's hard because that was kind of the storyline of his rookie season, is getting penalties. So it's really like you said, Michael, he needs to clean it up a bit. Is he going to be perfect? Is he going to get more pass interferences? Yes, he is. PIs are going to come, especially when you're a physical corner, but it's really just the poorly timed ones. Like that preventing a safety is I mean, there's just like, you got to be extra cautious with that. I mean, Aiden was in position. They should have had 2 safeties against the Bengals. They should have had 2 safeties there. It's just Shift God. Do you think we should just move Terrion strictly to nickel? No, I don't think so. I think what nickel's a little different. I mean, he's 6'1". I think he's built to be an outside corner. I think it's tough when you're asking a guy like TA. Like nickel, you have to be able to. You're in a phone booth with guys like playing nickel. It's a tough job. That's why the fact that Branch can do it and play safety is incredible. Like it's very hard to play nickel. It's a tough job. I mean, you're not that outside corner isn't. They're both tough, but nickel's extremely tough because you're in a phone booth with somebody, and you got to be good against the run, which TA is. But I don't know if we should. And Brad even mentioned this before, like making guys play positions they maybe haven't played yet. It's like I don't know. Are we going to throw TA there after he's been playing outside corner for years? He was a safety before that. Now we're going to move him to nickel. It's like I don't know if that's even the right move either. It's just tough. Like Vincent says, Hutch could be leading in sacks if TA could clean it up. That's my only gripe. He's wrecking others' production with it. Well, it's not just him too, Vincent. Brian Branch had the penalty that prevented a sack too. Like Brian Branch is getting penalties. So I like penalties. Like they're going to happen. Like Branch had some, he had a personal foul actually, I think last week. That was it was bad. I mean, penalties are going to happen. Brian Branch prevented him from getting a sack too. It's not just TA. But it's not even the penalties. It's when you get them, the poor timing of the penalties. It's just bad. It really is. But I'm not going to sit here and say, TA, I've seen enough. He stinks. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I would make him and me compete when DJ Reed gets back and made a best man win. It's competition, man. Dan Campbell always talks about it. We breed competition. So if you could beat out Amik Robertson at outside corner, then you do that. And if you can't, then Amik Robertson gets that spot. It is what it is. But I'm willing to give TA the rest of the season before I make a full evaluation. His first 2 years, so we'll get a bigger sample size and kind of see what happened from his first year to second year. I mean, right now we're 5 games in, right? 5 games into his second year. I want to see more improvement, but still, I thought in coverage yesterday he wasn't bad. Like I said, 3 catches allowed on 6 targets, 28 yards, 63.2 passer rating. He's 22 years old. Like, there's certainly things that you like about him, for sure. Like, and Kirby came out after the game and said, I thought he had a good game. Besides, obviously, the penalties, obviously, but he's not the worst in coverage. I know people will bring up the Ravens game, and I get it. He got cooked, but that's why it's tough when you play corner. People are only going to remember the times you got cooked. It's like Amik Robertson. People are going to bring up Jamar Chase on that long touchdown pass, but forget all the good he did in that game. So, it's tough. Silent says it's the lack of accountability from TA that's the most concerning. Him blaming the refs when he's the only one consistently getting penalties is very concerning. Yeah, well, that's I don't know about him blaming the refs. I haven't seen it. I know every player is going to complain in the game. I don't know if there's something maybe I missed that happened after the game or he's talking about the referees. You got to take accountability on that. I mean, refs are going to ref the game how they see fit. They're not always going to be good. We've seen a lot of – listen, we're Detroit Lions fans. We see a lot of bullshit calls. It just comes with it. And I'm not trying to pull the Detroit versus everything, or Detroit versus everyone. But, again, we've seen a lot of trash-ass calls. So I understand the refs can piss you off. I get that. But, yeah, TA, you got to take accountability with that. Like, his rookie year, it was bad. And, Silent, I will watch the interview. I didn't see him talk about it. Maybe if I have it right here, actually. We could watch it together, to be honest with you. Because I'm kind of interested to see this. Let me see. All right, I got it right here. Let me see. I'll play it on stream, honestly. Here we go. All right, let's hear from TA. I got the footage right here. Let's hear from TA. Let's take a listen. This is on the Detroit Lions YouTube.
Having somebody like that, I have a lot of respect for that dude, and just even watching like his pedigree and like what he does out there, and then just even somebody who talked back, like during the game, like y'all could see us, like we were just going at it whole game. So, I mean, a lot of respect for that dude, and I feel like games like that, like I get up for games like that.
TA, you get flagged for the PI and the chase, but then like play later, come back with the pass breakup on a very similar route. Can you explain like the differences and how those two plays transpired and what leads to the different outcome, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like that first one, I mean, I strapped the route. But I mean, at the end of the day, like just having like guys who are like veterans and the NFL getting used to how I play, like I'm very, very sticky. Yeah, so I mean, stuff like that, you just got to keep going.
Because the technique looked pretty much the same on each.
I strapped the route. And then I looked at him. You can see by the reaction on the sidelines, everybody like, what?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Can you guess what you're playing at right now? I know it's not 100%, but like, are you 75? Are you 80%?
Like 75%. Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is just going out there, getting the best treatment I can get during the week, and go out there and let the chips fall where they may.
Is there an element of frustration that comes with that? Like, you want to be playing at your best, and right now it's physically impossible too. And you hold yourself to really a high standard, and I don't know if you feel like you're meeting it. But just like in year 2, what's the frustration that you might be kind of fighting through right now to be at your best when you can't?
I would say as of right now, it's more mental than anything. And, just getting better at even like learning how to play smarter than harder. And then I got a good group of guys that even been in the film room with guys like DJ, me, and just learning how to play more like a vet.
Dope, Demo, he's from here, so play.
All right, there's TA talking to the media.
So that's good. I'm glad that we put
Let's see this. I'll get this out of here. Yeah, TA talking to the media. I mean, he did mention. He said, "I'm just sticky. That's what I do in coverage." Which, for the most part, he's actually not the. I mean, he can flip his hips. He can stay with receivers. I mean, there's times where he obviously gets got, but I think what he said that's very true is you're going to play against guys that are veterans in this league that know, like, okay, I have a corner that's very physical. I know how to draw penalties, and TA is going to run into those situations, especially when you face more, cerebral wide receivers. They're going to kind of know how to get you, especially if you're playing that physical. So it is on TA to kind of adjust to what the NFL is. And it's not like it used to be. It's not like the old NFL where they allowed more contact or they allowed more physicality. It's a different league. You know what I'm saying? You can't, it's tough. That's why what corners are asked to do is extremely difficult in today's NFL. Actually, just being a defensive player is harder than it used to be. It just is, because they're just at such a disadvantage because, I mean, the rules favor offensive players. But yeah, you can't. The penalties, you just can't do it. Shoot yourself in the foot. He shoots himself in the foot. And Eric says, I wish he would just man up and say, I need to be better. I mean, I guess from a penalty perspective, yes, accountability there. But it's not like, again, he was cooked or played terribly. He actually had a pretty good game. Again, three catches allowed, 6 targets, 28 yards, 60 passer rating. He wasn't getting cooked in coverage. He just had the penalties that were poorly timed. That's just how it goes. I mean, really. Rashad Walker. Every corner gets cooked. Receivers at this level, especially the stars, are elite. He just needs to chill in the penalties. I think that's well said, Rashad. I think that's well said. I think that's well said. Aloysius. Man, we showed out as fans yesterday. Really took over that stadium, but I will say I met a bunch of cool Bengals fans. Yeah, Lions fans travel. They really do. I know it was Ohio. And by the way, give it up for Michigan for sweeping Ohio. Yeah, the Lions beat the Browns. Well, it started with Michigan beating Ohio State. Lions beat the Browns. Lions beat the Bengals. Tigers beat the Guardians. Ohio. Hey, that was an Ohio sweep, ladies and gentlemen. Ohio sweep. So shout out to Michigan for that. Shout out to Michigan for that. Xavier D, weird officiating yesterday, I have to say. Xavier says, unfortunately, reputation becomes a large part of how the game is called. I mean, think about it from all leagues, man. Like Draymond Green in the NBA. He's one of the more, he's going to get in foul trouble. Or DeMarcus Cousins years ago, if you guys remember DeMarcus Cousins, if you watch the NBA. Those guys are refereed differently. And I don't think TA, he's maybe not a 5-6 year vet he doesn't have the name that those two players I just mentioned have. But there is truth in what Xavier's saying. When you have a reputation, you are going to be viewed a certain way. It's like the linebacker for the Texans. What's his name? Azeez Al-Shaair. If you guys don't know who Azeez Al-Shaair is, he's someone that last season basically murdered Trevor Lawrence when he tried to slide. And he got suspended. But anytime he hits a quarterback, the dude's getting a flag. I mean, it's just how it's just some guys are going to be officiated differently based on reputation, because Azeez Al-Shaair hits hard and he goes after guys, he headhunts. And, because he's the type of player he is, he's going to be viewed a little differently. It's just how it is. Not making excuses. It's just something I notice in leagues. So there is truth in what Xavier's saying. There really is. You know, and Aziz isn't the cleanest player, but referees are going to look at him a little different because of that. So he's going to be officiated a little more nuanced, or a little more. They're going to be focused on him a little more than maybe other linebackers. So that's just how it goes. All right. Crazy Clown, what's Jared's awesome completion percentage at now and QBR at now, haters? Well, let me tell you. Jared Goff on the year. He's first in passing touchdowns. He has 12. He's 9th in passing yards, 7th in QBR. And he has 2 interceptions. So he's off to a very, very good start of the year. And he's throwing 75.2% completion percentage right now. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Eric Taylor. Is Klotz okay with the Ohio domination? Well, that's why. Why do you think he's in Michigan so much? He claims the 419, but he looks for any excuse to get out of the 419. Peter Manning, and some people help draw flags because of who they are. Jared has been hit so many times, and Mahomes would have gotten a flag. Yeah. I mean, they had one hit. I know Booner brought up the one sack by Trey, kind of hit his helmet. That stuff is kind of to each his own. I mean, some referees might call that, some might not. I don't think it was enough to say it was a blown call, but, you know, I mean, some referees are a little more stricter with that stuff. You know, Mahomes is like, you know, they look at him as the face of the league, so he's going to be officiated a little differently because he's the face of the league. So when people try and touch Mahomes, they take it a whole nother level. But that's just how it goes. It just comes with it. It's sports, man. It happens to LeBron. It happens to all these great players. You know, Tom Brady. Like, obviously he was in a different league, but towards the end of his career, for sure. Blade, if we beat Kansas City, Tampa, Philly, Green Bay, and Goff plays well, MVP. Well, I will say, this schedule definitely helps him trying to win MVP. You know, because he has such a difficult schedule. Now, I don't know what the voters are going to think when it comes to how much you're giving Goff credit versus the weapons around him. I'm not saying I'm saying this is what voters are going to look at. It's like, well, which I think he deserves more credit for a reconstructed offensive line in a new OC and still playing well. I think that gives him bonus points. But people might still look at it and be like, well, he's got Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Sam Laporta, Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. He's got all these weapons. How much credit does he deserve? Which is not fair, but just the reality. I don't know. But I think he deserves credit for the reconstructed offensive line, new OC, tough schedule, and he's still playing at a top level in the NFL. That, you know, he deserves praise. He deserves love for that. Credit. Shift God, but we have a good chance at beating Kansas City. They do. You know, they do. They do have a good chance. This isn't the Kansas City of old. It's still a good team, and I'm telling you, this game's going to be really close. I think we're going to see Kansas City tonight take on the Jags, and it'll be good to kind of evaluate them a little bit. But overall, they're still the Chiefs. You're still at Arrowhead. It's still going to be, I think it's going to be the toughest game they've played since Green Bay. I mean, it's going to be, obviously, it's not going to be the Browns, Bears, or Bengals. They're going to be tougher than that. Very tough. And we'll see. They could be tougher than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just in terms of matchups, because you have Chris Jones facing this interior offensive line. You know, it's Spags is a great DC. Mahomes is Mahomes, and they have some weapons on the outside, and they have injuries at defensive back. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. And you're in Kansas City, you know, they're not the Chiefs that are making Super Bowls every year and winning them, but they are still a pretty good team. Just you got to be careful with them for sure. Tampa too. Shout out to Silent. The media doesn't like Goff at most. He'll get an All-Pro, and in my opinion, that's a stretch. Yeah, the guy's on track to be All-Pro. He's balling, especially Lamar's hurt. Mahomes is having an year. Goff's up there, man. He really is. He's incredible. And we'll talk more about it tonight. We'll be live 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So come hang out with us. If you're watching the game, turn us on, have the game on. Come hang out with me and Booner. We'll break down the game. We'll chop it up. It'll be a good show. I appreciate you all for tuning in. You can also get your merchandise and the QR code right up here. You scan it, Official CT Sports, you get your merchandise. Get your FTP shirts now before the Packers game that is in later in the year. But I appreciate you all, as always. I will catch you tonight, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and follow us on all social media platforms so you don't miss anything. All right? Until tonight, you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed, and much love as always. Peace.